What is up, guys? I do hope you're well. My name is Mark, and today we're covering some more, you guessed it, r/am I the butthole. If you'd like to skip the initial waffle, timestamps are in the description and along the timeline below, but if you are new here, please consider hitting that like, that subscribe, and maybe that notification bell too. Yesterday over on YouTube we had a new member, Lena Fisher. Thank you so much for becoming a member. It really does mean the world to me, and for everyone for just coming here, you know, and just taking the time out of your days. It's crazy to me that you do that. I just find it absolutely crazy, and I'm just so thankful to you. So yeah, thank you so much. And with that being said, let's get in to today's stories. Much love, guys. And our first story is from a deleted user. Am I the arsehole for not giving my brother and wife the bigger room? My brother's wife lost her job, which has caused them to lose the house they were renting. My brother asked if he could stay with me. I talked to my boyfriend and he said sure. So I told my brother yes, but he can't bring any of their furniture with them. We don't have any room for any of it. Our spare room has a bed and dressers in it already. He'll have to find a place to store things. He wasn't happy about it, but said okay, and that was that. When they started moving their clothes and whatnot in, they started complaining how small the room was. I ignored it because they were used to a rather large house, and I was sympathetic because I know how it feels going from having everything to nothing. I apologised and told him that this was the best we had. Issue: my son was in his room and started crying. I went in there to check on him and my brother got mad. I usually keep his door closed when he's napping. I have a baby monitor, and I guess my brother saw how large his room is. It's not big at all, by any means, it's just bigger than the spare room. He asked why the hell we give him a small room and we can't just move our son into the spare room. I told him I'm not moving my son and all his things into a different room when the spare bedroom is perfectly fine for the two of them, as long as they don't try to move their entire house into one room. He got mad, she got mad, they threw a fit. Then my brother asked me why we don't move our son into our room. I told him that my son's crib won't fit in our room, and again, I'm not moving just to accommodate them. The last week or so has been very tense. Some more comments here, cold shoulder there, petty shoulder checks from his wife if we cross close together. I've kept my mouth shut because I love my brother and I don't want to cause trouble. Plus, if they weren't so pissy, I guess is the word, they wouldn't be hard to live with. They started to complain that my son's crying at night is keeping them awake, which I get, but he's a baby. He only wakes once a night to eat, and that's not even all the time. This morning it all came to head when my brother told me I should move into the spare room and let them have mine and my boyfriend's room so they don't get woke up by the baby. When I told him no, he started yelling, calling me selfish and entitled. Told me that I should let them have my room because my son is an annoying little shit that keeps them up every night, all night. Where I may be the arsehole. I saw red. Let me start by saying I did not yell at my brother as he yelled at me. I said, if you can't appreciate the room you were given, you can go elsewhere. My boyfriend and I have been more than accommodating to you. You constantly complain, you're ungrateful and rude. Get over yourself or get out of my house. ETA, I'm asking if I'm the arsehole because my mother called me and told me I'm an arsehole for not giving the married couple the big bedroom with a connected bathroom. And apparently my other siblings agree. ETA 2, they do not pay rent. My boyfriend and I own our home and don't pay anything on it. They pay the difference on the electricity bill and buy some of their own groceries. I do the majority of the cooking and all the cleaning. ETA 3, boyfriend and I are going to talk about kicking them out tonight when he gets off work. ETA 4, I will update you all tomorrow. Yeah, you're definitely not going to be the arsehole in this story, but I thought it was an interesting one anyway. The fact that they move into your house and just think that they can run the place, that they called you entitled for wanting to keep your bedroom. What the fuck? And where I would have probably have lost it is when they called your son an annoying little shit that keeps them up all night, every night. Calling your son a little shit in his own home, in his own bedroom. Yeah, what a bunch of bastards. They'd have been out from that moment on, I think. And I think OP probably handled it the right way. Could have went a lot, saw red a lot more than that though. He was very calm, collected, and gave them the choice, even though they called your son a little shit. So fair play to you for keeping your cool on that one. But let's have a look at the comments below to see what they say. Amethyst Fire says not the arsehole at all. And quotes, if you can't appreciate the room you were given, you can go elsewhere. My boyfriend and I have been more than accommodating to you. You constantly complain, you're ungrateful and rude. Get over yourself or get out of my house. And then says, you're a lot nicer than I am. I would have added a few choice 4-letter words and / or kick them out on the spot. You're doing them a favour and they're coming across as entitled shitheads. Edit after update 1, 2 and 3. Time for your entitled brother and sister-in-law to hit the pavement. Since the rest of your family is so up in arms about the situation, ask them who's the next volunteer to take them in. Ho. Coco Butts Go Nuts says, not the arsehole, your brother called your son a literal baby and annoying shit. Girl, you need to evict him and his wife yesterday. He does not get to cause you an inconvenience in your own home, to your family, insult your child and make sleeping arrangement demands because he's bitter he has a smaller room than he wanted. Redoubtable South says, that is some goddamn nerve right there to call you entitled and insult your infant son when you are giving them a place to live and accommodating their whiny, entitled asses. Not the arsehole, I wouldn't even call you an arsehole if you told them to be out by the end of the month. Now, what do you guys think of this story? How would have you handled that entitled couple? Would you have chucked them out on the spot? Would you have given them time? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to vote on that poll in the description for story 1. And our next story is called, Am I the arsehole for telling my sister that just because she recently became a foster parent does not mean she is super mum? Buckle up ladies and gents, or at least I feel like a dumb cunt currently. So, I'm 26 female and I have a 7-year-old daughter. My sister, my twin, has chosen to never have her own kids and to be a foster mum. She was approved for doing this a month and a half ago, and as of 3.5 weeks later, she was chosen to foster a 10-year-old sweetheart of a boy. She's only had him for around 2 weeks. I've always been supportive of this decision. Now my issue is that since she's had this boy in her care, she's become overbearing. Mummy mode kicked in full force, which is great, but she is now overstepping everyone else with her own children. For instance, she recently read a book that stated children ages 10 and under should have no more than 30 minutes of screen time a day, as it stunts mental growth. So now every time she is over, she will flip off my TV, which I use for music, as my daughter doesn't really watch TV, or she read somewhere that if you even speak so much as loudly, even while laughing, it triggers kids' mind and causes upset. So now, whenever she is at any of our homes, she instantly slaps her hand over our mouths if we are too loud because she doesn't want to upset the boy. The final straw was her coming over yesterday and saying she needed to talk to my daughter alone. When my daughter came back in, she was crying. I asked my daughter what was going on and she said, Auntie told me that I'm not being nice because I wouldn't let Christopher touch my special doll and that I made him upset because he doesn't have anything special, so I need to share. She said I need to let Christopher play with it. Her special doll is kept on her shelf and not even touched by her, as her deceased grandfather gave it to her. It's a collectible. My sister was sitting there with a smile on her face and said, see, all taken care of, and then proceeded to walk to my daughter's room to grab the doll. I lost my shit. I told her to leave and that just because she's been a mum for 2 weeks does not make her super mum and that her actions are making it harder to deal with her. I told her that once she learned to act like an adult and stop forcing us to follow her pathetic rules, she would be allowed back, but not a moment before. I told her that the doll is staying on the shelf and I don't give a damn who that offends. She's saying that I'm an insensitive arsehole and will not be allowed around my nephew until I apologise. Now first, before I hate on this person, not OP, but the sister, you've got to commend what they do for becoming a foster parent and taking a child in, but it doesn't excuse them overstepping the boundaries like they're currently doing. They're obviously going way too far in this scenario and physically putting your hand over other people's mouths if they're talking too loud. What the hell, man? Yeah, I can't say you're the arsehole in this situation, but let's have a look at the comments and see what they say. Advate2701 says, not the arsehole, she's going too far. You set the boundaries. Even if she is a foster parent, it doesn't allow her to do whatever she would like in your house or anywhere else. Sooner Girl says, not the arsehole, yeah, you could have been nicer about it, but there's so many things wrong here. 1. You don't put your hands on someone. I'd have slapped her hand off my mouth and kicked her ass out when she tried to get me to quiet down. 2. Just because you believe a thing you have read doesn't give you the right to inflict it upon others. You should have walked right over and turned your TV back on. 3. Your child does not have to share anything they don't want to, especially an heirloom. The fact that your own child doesn't play with it means no other child should either. Your sister has issues with boundaries and it sounds like you're doing a good job trying to enforce them. As Moleman says, what does that sound? Oh, it's a helicopter. Wait, no, it's a helicopter parent complaining / being annoying. Not the arsehole, her foster son sounds miserable, as he is going to feel miserable because apparently I'm attacking a kid, I guess. Little baby snail says, not the arsehole, boy the stones on her. She isn't even being a supermum, she's being one of those horrid dreadful women who think by reading all baby books they know everything and are the ultimate parent and no one knows any better. The fact that she thinks it's her place to come into your house and tell your daughter she has to let Christopher have full access to any of her toys is completely wrong, rude, disrespectful, shitty, the list goes on. You don't read those books and instantly know how to be a mum. You learn to be a mother by being a mother. You learn as you go, and I understand she's excited, but straight up, she's being a huge gaping asshole. She owes you and your daughter and anyone else she smugly slighted a huge apology, and she needs to teach her first child boundaries. You don't get everything you want because you go cry to your mum. Some things are off limits, some toys aren't meant to be played with, sometimes you just get told no. And Slayer says, not the arsehole, but what the fuck is your sister reading? To which Crackshooter says, I think she's smoking the pages. Now, what do you guys think of this story? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to vote on that poll in the description for story 2. And our next story is called, Am I the arsehole for playing the race card when it's not about my race? My girlfriend is Korean and often cooks our meals. For lunch at work, I tend to bring leftovers, usually Korean food, specifically kimchi. I know kimchi can be pungent, but honestly, I've never personally found it offensive. I can understand how others might though. Recently, one of my co-workers has been harassing me to stop bringing it. Me and this co-worker are not close, and really the only time she talks to me is about how she doesn't like my food. It all came to a head on Friday when she approached me again. This time, I could tell she was really upset. At work, we have a 3-hour block that we can take a 1-hour lunch break during. I offered a solution that I'd take my break during the first hour, 11:30, and she could take hers during any point of the other 2. That way, she wouldn't have to smell my food. She got really upset, saying she shouldn't have to change her eating habits because I want to bring disgusting food. I said something along the lines of, this is kimchi, it's traditional Korean food. What would you do if we hired an actual Korean person and this is what they wanted to eat? At this point, a few other people were looking at us. The co-worker backed down, but not before saying, you can't play the race card because you're not a part of that race. I don't think that I'm the arsehole for standing up for myself, but am I the arsehole for bringing race into it? Edit, just wanted to clarify, I'm not microwaving the kimchi. Also, the kimchi is brought from the store and brought as a side dish with whatever leftovers is. It's only brought on my days my girlfriend cooked Korean food the night before. I'm not sure what it's like in the US or anywhere else, but like in the UK, if you take in like fish or something into the workplace environment and you go on lunch break with it, you're often frowned upon for taking it in or a really smelly food. And whether that's right or not, I don't know. But personally, if I was sitting in the lunch cafeteria and someone was there eating like a really stinky food, like I don't know, that's just fish or garlic or something like that, I think I would be put off too. Maybe that makes me the arsehole, but I don't think I'd be happy eating my lunch or having to smell that. But that's just my opinion. But let's have a look at the comments to see what they say. Santa Sangre says, I'm gonna say you're the arsehole here for one simple reason. You acknowledge that kimchi is noticeably a smelly food, and yet you choose to bring it in anyways. Has nothing to do whether or not an actual Korean got hired. There are Korean foods other than kimchi that could have been packed and brought. I'd also expect any person of any race or nationality to be respectful of food smells, communal environments, no matter how traditional a food might be. Fun fact, the most prominent example of this is durian, a traditional smelly South Asian fruit. Most South Asian countries actually have banned durian from being consumed in communal spaces, including public transit areas, because it's considered to be offensive and disrespectful. ETA, I've said it 80 trillion times now, I lived in Asia. I said South because first, I didn't want to exclude durian to one single region. The only region where I haven't seen a popularity or availability of durian is North. Second, geographically speaking, I lived in Japan. So when I think in my head, everything feels to the west to me. Should I have better articulated? Probably. Did that give people a reason to be horrible and nasty? Nope. You'll just get reported, so don't even try. DDD My BBB says, and replies to this saying, no, I'm Korean and I can tell you the majority of Korean food stinks to high heaven. Lot of fermented food and practically everything is loaded up with garlic and / or chili flakes. So I am not allowed to bring in my leftovers from dinner for lunch, like everyone else does, just because my food is Korean. I can't eat what is essentially the national dish of my culture at work, so I don't offend the nostrils of those who have never sniffed a spice. Durian is a fruit that people enjoy but can easily do without. Kimchi is a national dish that is incorporated in a lot of our meals. Jesse Doge says, as a Korean, I'm going to lean more towards the side of you're the arsehole. Not necessarily for playing a race card, which I don't think you really did by explaining what kimchi is, but Korean food is pungent. It's heavy with garlic and spices that make an office stink. If you really want to stick with Korean food, then ask her to make other dishes that aren't kimchi, fish, or exceptionally pungent. There are plenty of options that are way better than those for an office. MadMac0412 says, you're the arsehole. I love kimchi and fish and garlic chicken and all sorts of smelly food, but I wouldn't force my co-workers to smell it because it is strong. Also, it has nothing to do with race and everything to do with smell. Busybody87 says, you're the arsehole full stop. You know it smells and you still bring it. You have no consideration for your colleagues. You suggest that someone should change their habits when you are entirely unwilling to change your own. Regardless of the race thing, you're the arsehole. There are unwritten rules of courtesy in a workplace, and stinky food is a no-no for sure. Regards the race thing, you know you're the arsehole. And Horse Mullet says, not the arsehole. Do you make popcorn at work? Is there coffee? Have you ever smelled someone else's lunch? My guess is yes. The issue isn't pungent smells. Many things have pungent smells, but they have been normalised by white people and therefore accepted. I'm not saying that all things are acceptable. Durum was brought up by another person, but kimchi is relatively normal. Just because it smells different than she is used to doesn't mean she gets to dictate what is appropriate or not. Wow, and it turns out this one could go both ways. So what is your thoughts on this story? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to vote on that poll in the description for story 3. And our next story is from Death Teeth Story. Am I the arsehole for not wanting to participate in dear husband's family death teeth ritual? My husband's family has an extremely bizarre set of rituals surrounding death and funerals. They're from Wales, but I don't think this is a cultural thing, and I haven't been able to find any basis for it, or anything even remotely similar from a cultural/religious background. I think they might just be a bunch of weirdos. So here goes. In my husband's family, before a corpse of a recently deceased family member is buried, they'll have all of the teeth of the deceased knocked out, and will give one tooth to each of their living relatives to keep them in a fabric pouch, which they're meant to keep with them. They even have a system for how they decide which family member gets which tooth, based on their proximity to the deceased. Any teeth that the deceased has collected themselves or over their life is added into an ornate chest, which is literally filled with thousands of human teeth. Apparently this goes back many generations. I found out about this tradition about a year after I got married to my husband at his grandmother's funeral, when my mother-in-law gave me a pouch with one of her molars. My husband got very upset when I told him I didn't want to participate in this ritual. At the time, I was only talking about not wanting to carry around his family members' teeth, but evidently it's expected that after I die, they'll knock out my teeth to be distributed to family members. He asked me whether I'd really deny my children the ability to have something to remind them of me after I pass away, or to feel left out from their cousins. I'm trying to be understanding and polite, and other than this, his family is lovely, but to me, this whole practice seems completely fucking insane. I don't want my teeth knocked out and distributed to a bunch of random relatives, and there's no way in hell that my side of the family will understand or accept this. Am I the arsehole for not accepting this? Based on how our last conversation went, I think he's considering divorce. Edit, for people asking if it's real, I was thinking of taking a picture and posting it as proof. However, that feels like a definite arsehole move, especially since it's ghoulish enough that I could see it spreading around. Edit 2, a bunch of people have commented that my post and some of my comments are really judgmental, which I get. I'm coming around to the idea that it's not necessarily that weird. I think my negativity mainly came from how the conversation with dear husband went and his insistence that I participate. A few people have mentioned possible pagan origins to this practice. We're not really in a place to talk about it yet, but I'll post an update if I learn more about the background. Right now though, I think we need to deal with the issue of him accepting that I'm not interested in being a part of this tradition. Wow, what a weird one, right? Now, being from the UK and having Welsh relatives myself, I've never heard of this tradition, even the slightest. This is the first time, and I had to Google it and I couldn't find nothing on Google either, so I don't know where this tradition's come from. And initially when you hear the story you think, oh my god, what the fuck, they're knocking out teeth when people are dead. But you know, there's lots of rituals out there. So whilst I am incredibly freaked out like the rest of you, I can also see this is a tradition. There's lots of strange ones out there. There's one that I saw on TV a little while back. I think it's some monks or something like that, I'm not exactly sure, and it's like a sky temple where once you die they take you out and they basically carve the skin off your bones and feed it to the birds. I think it's vultures or something that's up there, but it's seen as an honourable thing to do, to return you to like nature, I think, or something like that. And before I'm too ignorant, I actually had to quick Google, because it's not called Sky Temple. I think that's from Elder Scrolls. But it's called a Tibetan sky burial, where they place you on a mountaintop and it's eaten by birds of prey. Most commonly vultures, according to Google. But yeah, back onto the story anyway, and they're talking about there's a chest somewhere full of thousands of teeth. Imagine opening that. Someone passing that to you one day and you're like, oh, what's this? You open it up, oh my fucking god. An absolutely freaky one. But let's have a look at the comments to see what they say. Bonnie Bluis says, not the arsehole, what the fuck? I'm horrified after reading that. They're your teeth. If you don't want them knocked out and distributed, I think that's fair. A chest full of teeth. That's not leaving my mind for a while. Rose Glass says not the arsehole, and this is a whole other level of fucked up weirdness to me. They have a chest filled with thousands of teeth of their deceased. This is a deal breaker level bizarre, at least for me. You need to think bigger picture too. He brings up kids, so you guys clearly want them. What if, God forbid, something happens and your child dies? He's going to knock out their teeth. Are you okay with that? Because I sure as hell wouldn't be as a mother. Smiley Starfish says, no one's an arsehole here. As creepy as this is, they're not the arseholes for having traditions that do not harm you, and you're not the arsehole for being as creeped out and not wanting to take part. Peace and Bong Life says, I live in Wales and I've never heard of any Welsh friends mention this ritual. Not the arsehole at all. Kiwi Bird 1 says, no one's an arsehole here. Anthropologically, this is fascinating. Death is a taboo subject, and we have a horror surrounding that as a relatively new thing in the past century or so. Mortuary rituals are important to a vast amount of people, and honestly, this isn't the weirdest or most ghoulish thing I've heard of. And honestly, it's not that much different from keeping ashes in an urn, a locket, a glass keepsake, or being an organ and tissue donor. That being said, get a death plan together now, and include your family in the discussion. Figure this out now, and honestly work through what both of you are feeling. Would you feel different about a lock of hair or ashes? If you want to chat, I can link you some death resources, or give you information on mortuary rituals. Wow, what an interesting story to end on. What do you guys think of this one? Have you ever heard of any like weird mortuary or death sort of rituals that go on? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to vote on that poll in the description for story 4. Once again guys, thank you for being here today. You are always appreciated here, and I hope you know that, and I hope you're having just a great week so far. And if you're not, I hope it gets better for you soon. I will see you in the next one. Take care. Much love.